Sorry, can you sign more, please?
You, Jerry Seinfeld, free Palestine! You support the genocide of babies in Gaza! Free
Only
Palestine! Free Palestine! You, Jerry Seinfeld, you support the genocide of Palestinian children! You rabid dog! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Now, I had the privilege of attending a preview screening of the film October the 8th last night in Sydney. The documentary analyses the rise of anti-Semitism in the US, particularly on university campuses, immediately after the atrocities, of course, of October the 7th. Now, as I've highlighted here so many times, it remains incredible and frightening that before Israel had even retrieved all the bodies, and while hostages were still being dragged away into Gaza, the aggression from some turned not against the Hamas terrorists, but on the victims, the Israelis. Here's a taste of the film.
It kidnapped Israelis, including children.
I thought that the entire globe would be in mourning. And not only was it silent, there was jubilation.
It was exhilarating, it was energizing. I wasn't seeing an ideological disagreement. I was seeing hatred.
Free Palestine! The hate started flooding in almost immediately.
Students called it resistance, they called it justified, they began calling Zionist students racist.
Adapting the concept of intifada. Violence will follow.
This is not about Jews. This is about democracy. This is about human decency.
What does it mean that the future leaders of the most important democracy in the world are chanting for intifada? What is the country going to look like a decade from now?
What is at stake is the soul of America.
It's confronting stuff. It's a brilliantly intellectual film and it's coming to cinemas soon. We heard from the director, Wendy Sachs, in conversation with Sarah Murdoch last night, and she'll be on later this evening on Shari. Shari's got her on the program at 8 o'clock. But I want to introduce you to two of the heroes of the film, if you like, Jewish American students who confronted the full force of this irrational hatred. Here's Talia Khan.
My mother is Jewish and my father is an Afghan Muslim from Afghanistan. Obviously, as the daughter of a Muslim and half of my family is Muslim, I totally empathize with people who are hijabi, for example, being scared. But it's not an either or.
President Kornbluth, please let me go back to being a scientist. Let me go back to being a student. I don't want to have to keep advocating for Jewish student safety on campus. It's not my job. It's your job. Please do your job and act now. And if you can't, I'm asking Congress to do it for you. Thank you.
That's inspirational leadership right there. And then there's Tessa Wexler, who was student president at her Californian university when signs were put up banning Zionists from the students' room.
The next morning, the Jewish students chose to go and they chose to sit in the exact room where they were told they were not allowed to be. Half of the room was Jewish students doing their homework, and then the other half was a bunch of students wrapped in keffiyehs making posters. I went to the side of the room with the keffiyehs because I wanted to understand what they were trying to accomplish. And while I was trying to speak to these students very calmly, they were trying to intimidate me to get me out of the room. So what they started to do was to make posters targeting me directly with my full name. Tessa Wexler supports genocide. You can run, but you can't hide, Tessa Wexler.
This is shocking discrimination, but these women have showed remarkable courage, and I'm pleased to tell you that Talia and Tessa both join me now live on the desk. Welcome to the program. Welcome to Australia.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Talia, let me start with you. You've taken the fight all the way to Congress. You've experienced the discrimination, the hatred, and you've pleaded with leaders to do something about it. Does it help the case to see it detailed this way in the film?
Absolutely. I think that one of the biggest benefits of this film and the way that the story was told is that it shows very clearly that the things that were happening on campus, that happened to Tessa, that happened to me, and all of the other Jewish students on campus, it wasn't about politics or policy. It wasn't about whether or not you agree with Bibi Netanyahu or not. It was really just bullying and hatred and support for terror. And these kinds of attacks weren't based in, it was not like a goodwill discussion that students were trying to have with the Jewish students or the Zionist students. When you would go up, for example, to the encampments, which is something that I did, I tried to have discussions with the students there, and they said they have a non-conversation policy with Zionists. They're not even allowed to talk to us. Many of them wouldn't look us in the eye. So it was very clear that it wasn't about, having an environment of intellectual curiosity or rigorous debate about the policy issues. It was just about hatred and promotion of terror.
But these are fortunate people in some of the most prestigious academic institutions in the world, yet they're reveling in their ignorance.
Yeah, I mean, it was really hard to watch. It was hard to see these students being so close-minded on campus and really, again, not being willing to engage in conversation. And I think the same thing happened with Tessa, when she was trying to talk to the students, as you saw from the clip, on the other side of the room. I'm sure she can explain more.
Yeah.
They wouldn't, have a conversation with her.
Yeah.